This is New Zealand, a country so stunning, so gentle on the eyes, that it often feels like a painting someone accidentally turned into a nation. Snow-draped mountains, valleys carved by ancient glaciers, quiet lakes that mirror the morning sky. If you're over 55, perhaps you still remember when New Zealand was marketed to Americans as a kind of last untouched corner of Earth. But as beautiful as it is, New Zealand also lives with a quiet paradox, one that surprises many older viewers when they first hear it. Why are so many New Zealanders leaving? A place that seems like paradise. To understand the answer, we need to step back and look at the country as it truly is today, not just through tourism posters, but through economic data, geography, and the lived experiences of the people who call it home. A beautiful country at the end of the world. New Zealand isn't just remote, it is extremely remote. So remote that many global maps simply drop it off the edge by accident. Its entire population is only about 5.3 million people, roughly equal to a single major U.S. metro area. And yet, those 5.3 million enjoy a high standard of living, strong public education, a stable, democratic government, reliable healthcare, and, historically, a strong sense of equality. For decades, sociologists praised New Zealand as a small but well-run society, a place that avoided the extremes of inequality seen in many other Western nations. Older Americans often compared it to how the U.S. felt in the 1950 seconds. Safe, friendly, community-oriented. But that picture has changed in modern times not because New Zealand has collapsed or declined, but because the global economy has changed around it. And that shift is now pulling tens of thousands of Kiwis away from the homeland they love. The puzzle: why are people leaving paradise? Here's the surprising part. From its already tiny population, New Zealand has one of the highest emigration rates in the developed world. More than 1 in 10 New Zealanders now live in Australia. That's not a rounding error, that's a full diaspora. And unlike many countries that lose population due to conflict or poverty, New Zealand's emigrants are not fleeing crisis. They're overwhelmingly young, highly educated, early in their careers, and full of potential. In other words, the country is losing the exact group every nation needs to secure its future. The population is still growing overall, but only because immigration fills the gaps. And even that creates new challenges, especially when many new arrivals later leave for Australia too. So why has this become such a difficult cycle to break? Understanding New Zealand's unusual economic position. To understand New Zealand's problem, we need to first understand its geography. New Zealand has a small population, a distant location, limited natural commercial hubs, and an economy heavily shaped by isolation. For older viewers in the US, think of it this way. If you took the population of Minnesota, placed it in Hawaii, and then moved Hawaii another 1,000 miles away from everything, you'd get a sense of New Zealand's situation. This remoteness creates a challenge. It's very hard for New Zealand to build large, globally competitive industries. Nearly anything that New Zealand could produce, electronics, heavy manufacturing, mass-market goods, can be produced cheaper, closer to major trade routes, and at a far larger scale in Asia. Even advanced industries like finance struggle. Why would a global corporation choose Auckland over Singapore, Asia's financial hub, or Sydney, a much larger market with stronger global banking ties? Both are easier to reach, more central, and far more connected. Australia, in particular, overshadows New Zealand the way the U.S. sometimes overshadows Canada. Close neighbours, but one is simply the bigger stage. The industries that do make sense in New Zealand. Because of these global forces, the industries that dominate New Zealand are ones that must be based their industries tied directly to its land, geography, or local population. Tourism, local services, local finance, maritime operations, and above all, agriculture. Agriculture is where New Zealand truly shines. New Zealand is one of the most agriculturally productive countries on Earth, which is unusual for a high-income nation. Its farms use fertile volcanic soil, abundant clean water, highly mechanized operations, advanced breeding, irrigation, and pasture systems. Modern U.S. Agricultural research consistently ranks New Zealand's dairy and lamb industries as some of the world's most efficient. But here's the problem. Highly mechanized farms don't need many workers, and younger Kiwis, raised in cities like Auckland or Wellington, are not eager to return to rural farm life. The real giant in the room: housing. The industry that truly dominates New Zealand is one that surprised many American economists. Housing, not just building houses, but buying, selling, renting, financing, regulating. Nearly half of New Zealand's economic activity is tied to property, a staggering percentage for any advanced nation. And with that comes a predictable result. New Zealand has some of the most unaffordable housing in the world. Yes, even more unaffordable than many major US cities. This shocks many seniors who remember when New Zealand was known for its modest living costs. But decades of investment flowing into property, both local and foreign, pushed prices beyond what younger families can manage. The government has tried measures like banning most foreign buyers, but these efforts excluded Australians, New Zealand's largest foreign buyers, affected only a small portion of total buyers, and didn't reverse the deeper structural issues. So if housing is extremely expensive, and farming doesn't offer enough jobs, and globally competitive industries are difficult to develop, you begin to see why young people start to look across the Tasman Sea toward Australia. But cheaper houses aren't the main draw. What they want overwhelmingly is opportunity.